This particular section will focus on Visible Learning for Teachers, Maximizing Impact on Learning by John Hattie, Chapter 4, Part 4. The first section is teachers talking to each other about teaching. A major message from Visible Learning is the power of teachers learning from and talking to each other about planning. There are learning intentions, success criteria, what is valuable learning, progression, and what it means to be good at a particular subject. Teachers readily engaged in this debate, and through such engagement began to see that they had in their practice neglected to critique their own work in the light of their beliefs and values concerning the purpose of learning in their particular subject. Progression has to deal with the core of effective teaching and learning. Also has to do with discussions, moderation, sharing indicators of milestone performance, sharing marking across classes, collaborative pre-planning across and within year cohorts. There was a particular method about a data teams model in which a small team would meet every 2 to 3 weeks using a data-driven structure. They would use the data to analyze student performance, set incremental goals, engage in dialogue around explicit and deliberate instruction, and create a plan to monitor student learning and teacher instruction. Data teams were formed on the basis of 3 different criteria, according to McNulty and Besser in 2011. All teachers on an instructional data team have a common standard or common area of focus, such as all the English teachers or all of the math teachers. All teachers on an instructional data team administer a common assessment that leads to regular formative interpretations. And all teachers on an instructional data team measure learning with a common scoring guide or rubric. The model has a 4-step process. Step 1 is to collect and chart data, the aim of which is to make the data visible, to place a name for every number, to develop trust and respect to spark improvement from all, and most importantly, to work out the fundamental questions to be asked of the data team. Step 2, they need to use the evidence to prioritize and set, review, and revise incremental goals. This involves being explicit about what success looks like, what high expectations need to be set, and what degree of acceleration is needed to enable all students to reach the success criteria. Step 3, question instructional strategies and their impact. Teachers need to find out how their particular strategies are impacting each student, what needs to change, what needs to remain, and most importantly, what results would convince the team to change or remain. Such results indicators allow teams to make mid-course corrections. And then finally, step 4 would be where the team monitors the impact of these strategies and then the impact on student learning. And then the cycle will repeat itself. There is another model, the response to intervention model by Elmore, Fearman, and Teotol in 2009. This particular model has 7 principles that they developed, the researchers developed. One is increases in student learning occur only as a consequence of improvements in the level of content, teachers' knowledge and skill, and student engagement. Number 2, if you change any single element of the instructional core, you have to change the other 2. Number 3, if you can't see it in the core, it's not there. Number 4, task predicts performance. Number 5, the real accountability system is in the tasks students are asked to do. Number 6, we learn to do the work by doing the work, not by telling other people to do the work, not by having done the work at some time in the past, and not by hiring experts who can act as proxies for our knowledge about how to do the work. And number 7 of the RTI model is description before analysis, analysis before prediction, and prediction before evaluation. Teachers need to be sure that they are open to the evidence of their impact on students. We tend to not be aware of exactly how much our instruction impacts our students, and when somebody presents us with this information, we need to be willing to adjust our lessons accordingly, be it positive or negative. The 3 big ideas from Visible Learning, reviewed by Rick Dufour, is going to be, the first one is the fundamental purpose of schools is to ensure that all students learn and that they're not merely just taught. Student learning must be a lens through which educators look when examining all of their practices, policies, and procedures. Schools cannot help all students to learn if educators work in isolation. Schools must create structures and cultures that foster effective educator collaboration, and collaboration that focuses on factors within our sphere of influence to impact student learning in a positive way. Schools are not going to know whether teachers are learning unless they're clear on what the students must learn. They need to continuously gather evidence of what they're learning and then use that evidence to better meet the needs of students through instruction and enrichment, and to inform and improve the individual and collective professional practice of educators. The 4 critical questions that should be asked for every unit that is planned in relation to the 3 big ideas from Visible Learning. Number 1, what is it that we want our students to know and be able to do as a result of this unit? Basically essential learning. Number 2, how will the students demonstrate what they have acquired, or that they have acquired the essential knowledge and skills? Have we agreed on the criteria that we will use in judging the quality of student work, and can we apply the criteria consistently? This would be success indicators of whether or not the student has acquired the knowledge and skills that they needed to. Number 3, how will we intervene for students who struggle and enrich the learning for students who are already proficient? And number 4, how can we use the evidence of student learning to improve our individual and collective professional practice? These questions are the critical topics for professional learning, communities, data teams, and whatever the form of collective responsibility in our schools. The next section is coaching teachers to talk to each other about the impact of their teaching. There are certain things that this action requires. You need to actually have an intention to change. If you see that it's a negative impact, then you need to intend to change that into a positive. You need to have knowledge of what successful change looks like. You need to have a safe opportunity to trial any new teaching methods. Coaching is specific to working towards student outcomes. Teachers need to learn how to discuss things with each other and give constructive criticism and feedback on how they can better reach their students and get their students to the outcomes that are desirable. There's a table that is on page 72 that is the impact of various methods on training on outcomes. Joyce and Showers in 1995 showed the powerful impact of coaching in comparison with other methods for raising understanding, skill attainment, and application. Reeves in 2009 has used coaching extensively to facilitate school-based change, and he starts from the position that not all coaching is effective. He considers that it is more effective when there is agreement that the focus is on improved performance, when there are clear and agreed learning and performance lesson plans, when there is then specific, relevant, and timely feedback, and when there is an agreed exit from the coaching upon specific planned conclusions. Coaching involves empowering people by facilitating self-directed learning, personal growth, and improved performance. First outlined by Adams and Engelman in 1996 is the concept of direct instruction, which involves 7 major steps. The first one is learning intentions. Before the lesson is prepared, the teacher should have a clear idea of what the learning intentions are. What should the student be able to do, understand, or care about as a result of the teaching? Number 2, the teacher needs to know what success criteria of performance are to be expected, and when and what students will be held accountable for from the lesson or activity. And as importantly, the students need to be informed about the standards of performance. Number 3, there is a need to build commitment and engagement in the learning task, a hook to grab the student's attention such that the student shares the intention and understands what it means to be successful. Number 4, there needs to be guides on how the teacher should present the lesson, including notions such as input, modeling, and also checking for understanding. Number 5, guided practice. This involves an opportunity for each student to demonstrate his or her grasp of new learning by working through an activity or exercise, such that the teachers can provide feedback and individual remediation as needed. Number 6, closure involves those actions or statements that cue students that they have arrived at an important point in the lesson or at the end of a lesson to help to organize student learning, to help to form a coherent picture, to consolidate, to eliminate confusion and frustration, and to reinforce the major points to be learned. And finally, number 7, independent practice. This follows first mastery of the content, particularly in new contexts. For example, if the lesson is about inference from reading a passage about dinosaurs, the practice should be about inference from reading about another topic, such as whales. The advocates of direct instruction argue that the failure to follow this 7th step is responsible for most student failure to be able to apply something learned. Direct instruction demonstrates the power of stating the learning intentions and success criteria up front, and then engaging students in moving forward or moving towards these particular goals. The power of teachers working together, critiquing their planning is one important message relating to direct instruction. The second is the power of designing and evaluating lesson scripts. Conclusions for this particular section indicate the co-planning of lessons is one of the highest likelihoods of making a marked positive difference on student learning. The chapter identified a number of factors that together impact on the quality of this planning. You need to have a good system of reporting student prior attainment to help teachers know the prior achievement and progress made by each student. And knowing prior achievement means not only recognizing the cognitive performance of students, but also their ways and levels of thinking, and their resilience and other self-attributes. Other critical factors include setting targets for what is desired for each student from the lessons, concentrating on evidence of the progress from prior achievements to target, and working with other teachers before delivering the lessons to engage with their critique as to how to optimize the impact of the lessons on the learning of the students. 2 powerful ways of increasing impact is to know and share both the learning intentions and success criteria of the lesson with the students.